Hi, this is Shiva Bhadraswamy. You know me as the product transformer at Digital Mobile Force Inc., a company that I own and work with a lot of startups and SMBs to a few enterprises even to help them navigate the turbulent waters of product management. Here, I just wanted to present a simple way of dealing with product management concerns. Today, there's a lot of clutter out there with product managers and marketers and whole lot of people in your organization throwing out a whole lot of lingo, asking for certifications all over the place, deep frameworks. To me, all it takes away from being customer focused. So why do it? Drop the fancy words. You know, just focus on three things. Whether you whether you can identify the needs and the wants and the unknowns of your customers, and whether you can satisfy or not, according to the money that you have, or the other limitations of what you want to do, and that's it. Be customer centric. Start with the customer and with the customer. I also want to emphasize why unknowns are more very important. You'll see that in the upcoming slides, but unknowns are the creative piece of all this, where you're sort of like discovering a whole new category. The customers really not know what they want. The needs part of it, yeah, sure. You know how to satisfy those. See, this is an absolute need, something that they absolutely needed yesterday, and you have to go in there and figure out a way to satisfy that. Wants, bells and whistles, right? Yeah, unknowns, unknowns. You have to figure out if those will become needs later, or do you have a plan to capitalize on that and make it needy for your customers, so that they feel that that's something I should have thought about and wanted yesterday and turn it into a need. I'm reminded of a story when I was with my daughter at a toy store, and I asked her about a toy. Do you really need this? Or you simply just want it? Or do you not know about it? And my daughter said, I'm looking at the toy. I'm not sure I want it right now, but I hear that a lot of my friends are playing with it, but maybe who knows? Maybe later I would want it. To me, that's an unknown, from my daughter, and I'll have to do something about that to see if that's a need she would want later on down the line, and it would become a need because there's everyone else is using it, and she wants to fit in. There are different ways in which needs manifest, right? So think along those lines. It's all about whether an unknown become a want at some point and become a need at some other point down the line, or would stay unknown, and you readily just want to focus on the needs of the customer right now and a few wants maybe, just to show that your product is a little bit better than not just satisfying the core needs. It's a lot to it, right? With just those three words. Think about it. It's you have to kind of move around the spectrum of those. And I'm going to share some examples of all that, but I want to make sure that this slide just tells you that product management is a simple way of understanding customers' needs, wants, and unknowns, and working to satisfy them end to end. Start with them and end with them. Okay, on to the next slide. In this slide, I just wanted for you guys all to see how the clutter out there today is in product management, right? Just look at the amount of words that are used and thrown around for various processes. There are so many tools out there that address each of these areas. And collaboration tools, ticketing tools, right? Story tools, business model tools, road mapping tools, external intelligence, internal intelligence, consultants to draft up visions, tools to wireframe and sketch and build concierge MVPs. You name it, there's a gazillion-dollar industry around it these days. I bet we can actually write a whole dictionary on it, A to Z of words in product management. I don't know if it's going to rival the Webster's, Oxford Dictionary, but I think we'll get pretty close to it. So many teams and stakeholders again to manage this whole process. So you can imagine the amount of cost a business has to incur to do all of this. Yeah, each tool is only on the surface seems cheaper, $30 per user per month. But if there are 100 tools of 30 per user per month, you're easily paying 3,000 per user per month, and you're a startup. Can you pay 3,000 per user per month for just managing your product management? Probably not, right? So you want to keep it all simple. You want to start with the customer and with the customer, and just keep their needs, wants, and unknowns in mind. And think about how to come up with solutions to make all of that happen. If you have to use pieces of paper or use free tools, Excel spreadsheet, Google Docs, use it. What you need to be focused on is the ideation portion, the logic to go with that. You have to constantly ask yourself if all of your buzzwords, all of the things you do, your PRDs, the product requirement, do they all point towards the customers and help solve the customers' needs, wants, and unknowns? And how to close the loop with the customers. Get it? A lot of clutter. Let's declutter. All right. Now that you've seen the clutter, and holy moly, ton of them, we want to think about how to declutter, right? Let's declutter. All you need to think about is the needs, the wants, and the unknowns that we talked about. Start with the user and end with the user. That's it. Simple. What do you mean by needs? Needs are something that's pretty absolute. It's something that your customers needed yesterday. And your users need these features so badly that they can't live without them. Wants are sort of the bells and whistles, right? They're happy if they have it, but you may not get a lot of payment for it, or you can't charge premium for it because they may not want to really pay for it, or they want to try it before you buy it, or they exactly don't need it now, or if they get it, it might actually complicate their environment further, especially if software product. You just get some additional feature, you have to integrate that with a whole lot of other features in your environment. And now you have to figure that out, you have to figure out a roadmap for that, and you've just enabled a ton of work for your enterprise or your small business to figure out more stuff. So even if the feature the vendor delivers is pretty cheap because it's in the want category, your overall cost of ownership might be pretty high because you have to do a whole bunch of integration, right? Unknowns is help me figure out, man. I mean, it's what's is this something that I need or not today, or did you guys come up with some sort of awesome solution that targets and tackles the problems in a different way, to which I've been doing this in a more cost-effective way, in a more efficient way, in a more user-friendly way? If you can show me that, you can demonstrate that to me, yes, that unknown could quickly become a need of yesterday, and I would want it right away. Does your sales and marketing have the capability to understand that? Position your unknown features to a needed feature, make money off of it? Think about that. Customers' preferences are dynamic. They change. They change over time. A feature that's today needed might get into a want category later on as other competitors and market forces collude to make the feature non-core. Similarly, a wanted feature might become a needed one because there's a network effect. Everyone owns that feature. And now people have developed some apps on that platform, and you can't do without being on that platform. So a want that you had before became a need. We'll see examples. For example, augmented reality, right? Today is something that people want. But if lots of people get on it and killer apps are developed for it that truly address people's needs through the platform, then that becomes a need product, not a want product anymore. And that's it. Stop right there. Right? These are the three things you need to figure out and work everything around it, right? Do you have sales and marketing power to push your wants? So your portfolio of features should be balanced in a way that whether you can push wants, that requires costs and money. Whether you can figure out unknowns and make creative solutions that may not just involve money, but more time to figure out how to convert that into a need, may need the use of a lot of trial and errors and external validations and risk capital. Do you have all that lined up? And too many wants may lead to feature churn. People want these features, they may sign up for it given the sort of the cheapness of the feature or the fact that they're trying before we buy trials, but they ultimately would like de-sign or unsign these features, and you'll see that happen a lot in your churn rates. And then you get into the situation of managing churn, whether you want to sunset all those features or continue with them. A lot of operational overheads adds to your company's costs again. So you see, how you put your portfolio of features together based on needs, wants, and unknowns affects a lot of things. Costs for your company, costs for your users, costs for your partners, the effort that the sales and marketing teams have to put to push the product or make it pulled by the customers. So keep it simple. Think about the portfolio from these three angles. Think about a few stakeholder impacts that your mix of portfolio will have. Discuss this with all your stakeholders and get the initial picture of what this mix should look like and where we should focus on. That is how you start with the customer and bring the customer's voice to the table. Everything else is just ancillary. Just don't do anything more, right? Your kickoff meetings should focus a lot on these, and all the other processes, everything else can sort of like come later. My favorite piece of the puzzle here is the unknown needs or unknown part of what customers want, right? Unknown is pretty interesting because it's an area where you can play a lot. It's a sandbox where you can get to be creative. You can take some risks, do some out of the box thinking, try to see what your customers really want. And the product, obviously, that was born out of unknown, that is most popularly talked about, is the Apple iPhone, right? The one that came out initially. See Steve Jobs holding that in his hand here. It's the very first iPhone. In fact, Apple's initial surveys indicated that nobody would want a phone. There are so many smartphones around. Why would anyone need this from Apple, which is a computer company? Now, the need here is that, or the unknown. The reason that was the case is because it was pretty unknown for the customers as to what they will do with the phone that also has a bunch of apps, and one of these apps plays music, and if we can talk and listen to music at the same time. Customers are like, I have a phone, I have another device for listening to music, my old Sony Walkman kind of things, and so forth. In fact, Sony's Walkman ended up disappearing because of Apple's smartphone invention, right? I mean, nobody now has a separate CD Walkman or sort of Walkman to listen to phone, even though that was all the rage back in the 90s. So Steve had this vision that a smartphone will not sell by itself. It's just a want. But that unknown element is that they need some killer apps on it, like the music app, to really make the phone be the medium that people carry with them as the mobile device. It has to be truly mobile. It has to enable a lot more functionality than just speaking. And the vision that he set out for the Apple iPhone was founded on really unknown uh, uh, preferences of his user base, right? There are reasons also, market reasons that also came into the play for a smartphone to become popular, like the Apple One, because a lot of those apps that Steve was talking about require a whole lot of network bandwidth. The streaming audio, streaming video, playing games, right? So the bandwidth had to be cheaper. So it's not just that the unknown part of it just drove the need, the design of the product, but like I mentioned before, the dynamic nature of the changing market environment could change the need of a customer's preference from an unknown to a want to a need. Suddenly, people wanted iPhones, and once, because the data got cheaper, the carriers ended up having unlimited data plans and so forth. And once it got to a point where a critical mass of customers bought the iPhone and built out a network of users, then everyone wanted to get in on the act, frankly, and it became a need, because now the need has been defined as feeding in. It's defined as having one mobile device for doing a number of things. And the need for later adopters became pretty critical, as I defined before. It became something as that I needed yesterday, because I'm always on the move and I want to listen to music and I want to talk and do all the things, and I don't have any device. But when starting out, no user specified that as a need. It was still unknown. So you can clearly see how you can take a unknown and convert that into a real huge business, and Apple's now approaching $1 trillion in capitalization because of capitalizing on that unknown. Do you want to do that as well? Think through. Unknown's my favorite category. Is that yours as well? My second favorite area are the products or features born from needs. Because believe it or not, needs are what really a customer needs, for lack of a better word. They're absolute must. They wanted all this yesterday. They must have it, and it really solves a critical pain point at that moment in time and space for the customer. Google's advertising and AdWords was a huge boon for the advertising industry, right? Everyone knows Google for the search engine results and having more and more eyeballs on the internet because of enhancing the way in which information can be looked up and quickly indexed and brought back to your search results, and therefore you can sort of like look up information on tons of different things on the internet very, very, very easily and quickly, and use that in your day-to-day life. But was it the real need? Was that the real need for the customers? Probably not, right? At that point, might have been a want, but the internet has not matured to a point that was an absolute need. What the need really was is when your user shifts from a regular Joe to the advertising industry, where the advertisers really wanted to spend money with some amount of accountability. The tools that were in use back then, like Nielsen ratings, which is even there today for the TV advertising, really does not give a whole lot of accurate measurements, if you will, in terms of impact that your advertising dollars have on conversion rates of your customers, right? Don't want to go deeper into that whole conversion process, but suffice to know that the advertisers lacked good data across a spectrum of population in real-time manner to make advertising and marketing spend decisions. The other macro factor, like I talked about before, which shifted the timeline for this from a want to a need, was even this was a want for the advertising industry. It was not an absolute need, but since more and more eyeballs got on the internet, many people spent on the internet, and thanks to Google search engine, organization retrieval of information became really easy. The popularity of internet as a medium for communication, interaction, entertainment, uh, for discovering each other, all became so prominent that users spend a lot more time on the internet than on traditional media like TV, radio, um, and even like on other channels. Actually, frankly, like so many of them were there before the internet. Right? You had Walkman, music, portable cameras, and things like that. Um, Point is, Google was able to take advantage of that transformation in eyeballs and propose a medium where advertisers can truly get your attention and at the same time be able to transparently measure their costs and the conversion rates. Things like average cost per click, website conversion rates, all became very standard vocabulary for users, and a whole new world was born. Essentially, what Google did was they democratized, sort of the AdWords pricing based on demand supply. Correct? I mean, more the demand for those keywords, the price per click of those keywords went up. It's a very new way of making accountable the impact of your advertising, banner spends, and keyword spend on the internet. And one of the reasons why Google has a massive market share of 60-70% is that accountable nature of the tools that they built to provide data back to the people who spend money on advertising as to how well their dollars are working for them. Now, that's a classic story of something that was a want initially and became a real need due to how Google transformed the internet and democratized the way in which demand supply pricing works. That everyone from a large corporation to a small company have access to the same set of tools and the same criteria for making themselves popular on the internet. Get it? That's the power of needs. Finally, we're here. This is the product born from wants. Remember the category? The needs, wants, and unknowns. Unknowns, my favorite. Needs come next. And wants are obviously sort of like my least favorite for converting into products. And it's pretty clear because if you build your product on wants rather than needs or unknowns, which would become needs later on, then you're truly not building to the immediate demand or gratification that a customer's need, right? Or to a future demand as created by those unknowns. This is one of the reasons why there's a 50% fail rate in big corporations. And I worked in companies like Microsoft and GE and others. I find that a lot of product managers try to position wants of a customer. Remember, wants are something like bells and whistles. They don't really need it, but if it's there, it's, I won't object to it. Because the product managers, when they are very challenged to come up with needs type features, kind of default to the wants because those are easier to like envision and kind of put it in a list of features to be built. A lot of product managers are judged in these companies based on how many features they come up with, quantity over quality issue, the typical thing, right? So, market research, you go there and you'll really find that many of these features are not wanted, but still, people try to kind of position the wants as needs, and this leads to, pretty high failure rates, like 50% or more. Many companies fall into this bucket, right? And there's so many of them you could list where companies have confused a want as a need and gone ahead with securing funding and built it up. A lot of startups have failed because of that. One of the companies I thought came to my mind and which I had personal experience with, like stamps.com. And when I started using that company, the service, and they said you need to pay more for buying the same stamps that I can buy at a post office. Um, I was like, why would I do that? Um, just for the sake of online ordering. It's almost like if I want to use my debit or credit card online, I have to pay additional fees just to use that. That value proposition is not clear as to why I want to pay for it, right? I'm sure you don't want to pay for it either. You want to pay like $1 for a 35-cent stamp? Probably not. The other reason is the market has changed, right? The emails don't need stamps. A lot of people are using emails these days. We don't send letters as we used to, so the volume or the demand has gone down. This is again going back to my earlier point as to how the change in the macroeconomic situation will affect needs, wants, and the unknowns of the customer. The Postal Service basically franchised the stamps to multiple mom and pop stores, so now your neighboring, as well, even a pharmacy would have stamps, you can go there. So distance is not a problem. You can pick it up on their way home. So the convenience of ordering online, the utility of that is starting to rapidly fall. There's a lot of competition for companies like CSR. I can easily start a company, put up a website and say, hey, I can ship you stamps and just ship stamps through some Amazon fulfillment service or FedEx fulfillment service. So easy, right? So where is the differentiation? The market could get easily flooded, right? So yeah, this company thought that this was a real need for customers and went ahead with it. And today it's not a recognizable name, and they have not really delivered, right? So you want to make sure that the wants are something that you have only as a minor part of your portfolio, just for those sort of like those specific areas where customers want these additional capabilities on top of the core needs areas. And the core needs don't have to be traditional core needs, right? The new unknowns that the market and the macroeconomic situation is producing can be converted into new core needs that the customers themselves have not thought about. And that's where you want to play, right? I mean, if you look at all the successful startups going on IPO, they've all turned those unknowns into today's needs and demands. Just that you really need this. Even you don't know the problem. This is the problem. And our solution solves that problem for you. Can you get there? Can you be a company that's like that? You don't want to be stamps.com. You want to be like an Apple, or even a company like App Dynamics. A company that's not well known, but guess what? They were playing in a very typical industry: network monitoring, end-to-end stack monitoring of your applications, right? From your app services front end all the way back to your network be it on a cloud or your own private data center, or even your own internal facility. But they had a vision. There were a lot of competing products of similar nature. Their monitoring topologies were all there, these kinds of products. Yet, they came up with a scheme where they kind of connected the monitoring threads, which tells the state of the system, right? The processes, the state of the processes, the state of the messages, message passing networks, the state of the underlying transport layer of the network, state of the underlying security, all the way down to the state of switches and routers and the typical optic fiber wires, MDMs, multiplexers, right? All the way down to that level. But what they truly did was they tied it all to a business transaction. For example, if you're doing an e-commerce transaction where a customer punches a button to send money, or puts in a card for you to deduct money from a card, and if that process failed, AppDynamics will help you trace the entire failure stack right from the business layer of the transaction, breaking that down into sub-processes, as in the application processes, then to the further abstraction, which is the threads and processes that run on kernels and OS, and then further down to the network packet layer to see how the packets associated with the messages that were passed for making these processes carry out parallelly in different clusters are monitored, and finally down to the very hard network and bare metal servers themselves, right? How those things were performing. That is, whether they were powered on and off, and things like that at a very bare electricity kind of and power consumption kind of level. Isn't that cool? Going all the way to now that was the real need for that industry, and everybody had built the monitoring layers, but they did not tie it back to the business transaction that was sitting at the top. This company recognized that everything is going to a service-oriented architecture in the cloud, and every function is just a bunch of business processes, not technical or technology processes which underlie those, but business processes are also service-oriented architecture, right? Send a bill, deduct an item from the inventory. Everything is a process, and if you can topologize these things right from the business process to downwards, then the business users have a powerful tool in their hand. Now, this concept was unknown, right, when this company started off, and they converted that into a true need, explained to the customers that this is how you want to envision a solution. You don't have a solution. You're not able to diagnose your problem really well because you don't have a solution like this that helps you envision this completely end-to-end from business all the way down to the network. And that's how they grew in record numbers, went from 200 people to 2,000 people in just 5 years. A very successful sale to Cisco, and now Cisco owns them, and all the founders made zillions of dollars of money and great work for them. So I always love to talk about them as to how they converted a unknown to a real need. Hopefully you get all this. This is it. It's pretty simple, right? I mean, it's understand the needs, the wants, and the unknowns, and build a portfolio based on how the megatrends or the dynamics are changing around you, and the economy is changing around you, and how the customer's preferences are changing. Start with that. Check back with the customers again. Revalidate. Start with the customer. Close with the customer. Get your features right. That's what product management is all about. All the other tools, write tickets, everything else is just aids that will help you get there, but they're not going to really help you envision what is the true need of the customer and how to really convert an unknown need of a customer to a real need that you can solve. Maybe not now, 2 years down the line. Focus on that and you'll be very successful. Good luck. Thank you, and I hope you keep us in mind whenever you want to do some product management, consulting, or DevOps architecting, or any other stuff, right? Look at our website, contact us. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Someone told me that I had not shared information about a company, and maybe good to put in a slide in there about further information about us. So, like I said, my name is Shiva Bhadraswamy. I'm the president of Digital Mobile Force. You can check us out at the link that you see here. You can also write to us at customer service at digitalmobileforce.com. There's several YouTube videos that the company has put out. Go to our channel, check more out for videos, and see if the services we offer are something that you would require. Happy to answer any more questions. Give us a call, write, whatever. We're here to help. Today's technology world is highly complex in terms of the number of tools and layers of abstractions out there. So making sense of all that to get to market products very quickly and truly meeting the needs of your customers is all intertwined. And you need an end-to-end view, and you have professionals that have really gone through that process and can help you with that. Thanks a bunch. Talk to you soon in the next video. Bye-bye.